Picture this. You've just inherited $100 million. Life-changing, right? But what if that colossal sum came with a catch so bizarre it turned your life and an entire courtroom upside down? Today we're diving into the jaw-dropping story of a family torn apart not just by money, but by one of the most eccentric wills ever written. This isn't just about a legal battle. It's a tale of secrets, betrayal, and a puzzle box of conditions that would make a reality TV show look tame. It all started with the passing of a reclusive tech mogul, a man known more for his quirks than his wealth. He had no wife, no children, just a handful of distant relatives who barely knew he existed. So, when his will was read, everyone expected a straightforward distribution of assets. What they got instead was a bombshell. The entire $100 million fortune would go to a single heir, but only if they could fulfill a series of near-impossible tasks. The will wasn't a simple document. It was a labyrinth. It stipulated that potential heirs had 1 year to complete challenges that tested their character, intelligence, and even their physical endurance. One task required them to live for a month with no electricity or modern technology. Another demanded they volunteer at a remote animal sanctuary in the Amazon. The most controversial one? They had to publicly forgive a person who had wronged them in the past, with verifiable proof of reconciliation. Suddenly, cousins who hadn't spoken in decades were forced to interact. Old family feuds resurfaced with a vengeance. The courtroom, meant to be a place of order, transformed into a theater of the absurd. The judge, a seasoned veteran of inheritance disputes, had never seen anything like it. He described the proceedings as a circus without a ringmaster. The first hearing was pure chaos. One cousin accused another of sabotaging his attempt to complete the no-tech challenge by secretly charging his phone. A niece presented a tearful, heavily edited video of her forgiving a high school bully, which the other side immediately claimed was staged. Lawyers were shouting, relatives were sobbing, and at one point, two brothers nearly came to blows over the definition of reconciliation. The media caught wind of the story, dubbing it the Inheritance Games. Reporters camped outside the courthouse, trying to get interviews with the increasingly frantic heirs. The family's private dramas became public spectacle. Each challenge brought new levels of desperation and creativity. One relative, a city's liquor stockbroker, documented his disastrous attempt at living off the grid on a blog, which promptly disqualified him for using technology. As the 1-year deadline approached, the pressure intensified. The tasks were designed to force introspection and personal growth. But under the weight of $100 million, they only bred suspicion and animosity. The tech mogul's intention, perhaps, was to find a worthy successor who valued more than just money. But the result was a family imploding under the strain. In the final weeks, only 2 candidates remained: a quiet librarian named Clara and her flashy, ambitious cousin, Julian. Clara had meticulously and genuinely completed each task, finding a sense of purpose along the way. Julian, on the other hand, had used his wealth and connections to find loopholes and shortcuts for every challenge. He hired a survival expert for his wilderness trip and paid a PR firm to stage his public forgiveness. The final court date was set to determine who had truly fulfilled the will's spirit. Julian's legal team presented a mountain of glossy evidence, showcasing his successful completion of every task. Clara's presentation was simpler: a personal journal, heartfelt letters and testimony from people she had helped along the way. She spoke not of winning the money, but of how the journey had changed her. The judge's decision was unprecedented. He acknowledged that Julian had technically met the requirements, but his actions were a clear violation of the will's intent. He ruled that Julian's methods were deceptive and lacked the genuine transformation the deceased had sought. Then, in a stunning move, he turned to Clara. He declared her the rightful heir, not just because she completed the tasks, but because she embodied the values the will was designed to find: integrity, humility, and compassion. But the story doesn't end there. The moment the verdict was announced, Julian lunged across the courtroom, screaming that he had been cheated. The ensuing brawl was the chaotic climax to a year of madness. Security had to drag him out as he vowed to appeal the decision for the rest of his life. In the end, Clara accepted the inheritance. But her first act wasn't to buy a yacht or a mansion. It was to set up a charitable foundation in her benefactor's name, dedicated to funding, education, and environmental projects. She used the money not for herself, but to continue the journey of personal growth that the will had started. This case serves as a wild reminder that money can't buy happiness, and sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't the wealth you receive, but the person you become. It shows how greed can twist good intentions into a nightmare, and how $100 million can cause more problems than it solves. The family was shattered, legal precedents were questioned, and one person found their true self amidst the chaos. What a story. What do you think? Was the mogul's will a brilliant test of character, or a cruel family experiment? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into legal madness, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.